Okay, you'll get number 2 today. Oh, CCPD managed to get one of the sites suspended. Does it say CC? No, by request. One site, not a big one. I got a lot of different ones. Why you, any father should have answers of why you would wait until his younger daughter is alone when you approach a property. And I already, as I covered some of the recent stuff, that's why we're so backwater. I gave you cases where just a simple complaint of maybe like somebody having rocks or stones in their yard or throwing something off a pier would initiate officers with a warrant to make entrance into somebody's home. In a normal community, before you have people that are working for the city, where the taco vendors are cops, there should be a high priority before you make entrance into anybody's private residence. And I showed you what the standard is here. Now, they waited purposefully until my young daughter was here alone. And how do you know that? Because that was in collusion with an officer that knew where I was that day. As a matter of fact, he used to park right where I parked my vehicle in HEB. He started parking right there in my spot, thinking like I wasn't going to park there. So he waited until I was not home to initiate taco vendors to come to a private residence with a young girl here that they still have not answered those questions to. That's why. You know, that same officer one day approached me, and I never knew particularly the different ones they've complained about. I said, oh, I know that officer. Now, obviously, they destroyed the dash cam, or if they had one. But I remember he jumped up and down, said words to the effect of, we're going to destroy you. You know, I notified Chief Simpson at that time, because in the normal street mode, if a guy comes up to me, makes a threat on the street, I have the right to defend myself. But some of these guys had a history of assault and beating, and they'd approach people. And I was calm. I said, oh, you're so-and-so. Jumped up and down. And I thought, there's something wrong with these guys. And so that day, the last video you saw, as CCPD obviously rapidly wants to get rid of all the signs, they waited until I was out. I was back out at Timmons, and he was watching me. Go now. Go check out the babe. You know, any of that language you use about my family, you say, well, that's street language, John. What a disgrace to humanity that you put yourselves off as some type of entity that if we keep pumping money into it, that'll correct things. I've shared a lot of cases for those who watch the videos, even brought some of these things up to your own internal affairs department. I told that, shared that. No, man, you can write 1 million letters. How would a normal, maybe inappropriate contact by an officer with a young female, how would normally a person, I won't even give the name. There are others that are girls that had drug problems, but one came to mind. And they started prostituting at the age of 15 maybe. And that's just common. I never did any of it, but others did. People that are the same ones out looking all day, texting civilians. You said, well then, why would those things not be accountable for, John? That's what I also tried to explain and there's other cases across the nation. If a younger girl or anybody, a homeless person, says, man, I had to perform an act on a particular officer, the normal process is you report it. You report it. And it could, the same thing if an officer assaulted people, went after the same process. And after they would report various things, then they would get retaliated against, and then later finding out that they knew. The upper echelons of the department knew various things. That's how come things are justice you don't get in particular areas. So if you had a young girl that had to perform, who is she going to report that to in Corpus Christi? I gave you multiple cases of people that called. The Toomey case, but there were others. There was a glass man, owns a glass bluff, I think it used to be called. I even had to get a windshield for my car replaced. I was in that glass shop once. I remember the story. I don't know if it's still a glass shop, meaning that's what they do, windows and car windows. But one of the guys used to work. One of my friends from the street used to work for him, and they had a break-in and a robbery. And I remember he told me, they called, the windows were broken, the glass windows of the shop. They called throughout the day to report a robbery. No one showed up. They called CCPD throughout the day. He just let it go. He said, what else do you do? Now say if it was a case where there was a young girl on the street, that obviously it's an illegal thing to prosecute. Say if she had a report of somebody. Who does she call? Say if you say it's very unprofessional to profile someone's father, knowing, wait till he's at Timmins, because that other officer knew where I was. Now go to his residence. And then any father would say, look, I want an accounting of just the approach being my young daughter was home while you waited for something like that. No accounting. Not only will we not give you an accounting, we won't give you names in Corpus Christi. That's why I refer to them as taco vendors. I had the image of a Cheech and Chong, like, hey, baby, what poontang? What is it? I don't know. That's the image. Why? Because she didn't give me an accounting to this day. If you approach somebody's residence and you're with that cabal of code enforcement, you have an accounting. At the fire department, we made reports, records, and these are stories. I had another friend who had his wallet robbed, stolen, and he called PD. Could not get a report on that. He was shocked. A few weeks ago, and it's probably true, wasn't real bad, but when I went up to the park, the people on the street, guys and girls, they said, man, the other day, because they sit right by the police station, and they did say, more than one said, there's a lot of lady cops, which is fine, and they said one of the male cops, they were getting out of the car or shift change, they told me he kind of grabbed her ass. Now, few of them told me, it was like the big story, and I just asked, I said, what did the lady cop do? This is why I didn't bring it up. They said, oh, she laughed too. I don't know if they're boyfriend and girlfriend, I don't know. It's just unprofessional. But the reason I asked is because if that lady cop was upset, I would have made a bunch of videos on that. I said, now I want to know. You got recording cameras by that cop shop, but it seemed like it was maybe, like the girl was not, the lady cop, according to what my friends told me, was not upset. And I think of, but what are the standards? What are the standards? What are the standards that I had to go, still to this day, no name of the people that approached? You say, John, you should avoid them. Look, you have seen me try to avoid them. You saw the video of the cop pulling me over. She lied, he couldn't read the inspect. Look, that you can read that sticker. And so what did we have? Those are my new viewers before CCPD gets all the other sites. I do avoid them. I do avoid them. It takes a lot of my time. A part of my time and the pressure you see is to protect my kids from them. Because I documented how they even went into my other daughter's residence. And I think the money. And then I hear Markle on Lago, back to the code enforcement. The Fuqua death still unsolved. Questions in the Fuqua death. Why are you so upset about the Fuqua death? Look, from what the guys on the street used to tell me, is that some murders go unsolved because people are involved with activities. True or not, I don't know. Fuqua death questions me. Mr. Stowers, who's a spokesman for CCPD, came out and said tips are coming in, and the same few days, the family of Mr. Fuqua called, and the officer at the department said, it's kind of a cold case already. That was a contradiction to me. So let's pump more money. Let's keep putting more money. Move to this community, and if you have questions about people within law enforcement approaching your daughter, young daughter, waiting particularly because they knew the father was out, now go. And maybe they said things that were inappropriate. Did they make entrance? There was no warrant. You say, well, give me the fucking accounting for it. That's what you got in this community. I've shared multiple of these things over the years. The Meeks thing, because he was a black man, he admitted to prostituting a younger girl, federal case, and then all the things that they've done here. And some of it had to do with sexual favors. And a lot of them were homeless men. Homeless men. That's why that chief out of Gregory case, he's claiming that it was consensual. So you can have a police chief on video performing a sexual act, which Mr. Weinstein and all is now in this big thing because of that. And then how did the wagons circle him? So you could have had, I laugh. I've never made threats to these cops. I've had them make threats. You've seen the videos. This one officer was jumping up and down. We're going to destroy you. I said, how could you even say something like that on camera? And then I realized that multiple assaults, beatings, the other things. So a normal community, if like in Mr. Meek's case, if a younger girl called, quote, the cops and said, I was forced to do an act and I'm even a minor. But if it's someone within that department, there could be no report on it. There could be no record on it. Just as an example, you could even try your hardest to say, I want an official accounting because a particular code enforcement or officer approached my residence knowing I was not there, waiting for me not to be there. I want an accounting, and you won't get that. We used to keep fire reports and incident reports. Then we did more and more and more, like it was too much. You have cases here where you had break-ins, robberies, vandalism on my daughter's vehicle, and you could not even get an officer to make a report. And then after multiple calls, some of the citizens were told, don't call us. We will arrest you if you call us. And even that Bluff Glass Place example, it showed me some people who were victimized in this community maybe tried to contact authorities multiple times. Normally people call 911, and showed me Some of those never documented, no reports. I remember they had a armed robbery at Pizza Hut. This might be a year ago. Supposedly he went in with guns right next door. And I thought, nothing, you didn't ever hear nothing later on it. This is number 2.